Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Hogwarts. I really didn't want to be the Dark Lord. Chapter 1. Cruciate. This was the first word Shaji heard just after crossing over, before he even had time to open his eyes. Then he lost consciousness in a burst of unparalleled pain from the depths of his soul. I don't know how long it took, but Shaji woke up leisurely. At this moment, the person who cast the Cruciatus curse on him had been gone for an unknown amount of time. Shaji looked at the surrounding environment and found that he was locked in a small iron cage, and around the iron cage was a cave full of sundries. A kerosene lamp was hung on the cave wall, emitting a dull light. I don't know if it's day or night. Shaji raised her hand tremblingly. It was a thin, pale hand. He was now convinced that he had time traveled, and he had time traveled to Harry Potter's world. But he suffered a Cruciatus curse at the beginning of the game, which almost made him the fastest traverser in history to receive a box lunch. The original owner had no doubt been tortured to death by the Cruciatus curse, and Shaji happened to cross over at that moment. It's over. Barbecue is over. In this situation, he was definitely caught by a black wizard. This body is already extremely weak. If he suffers another Cruciatus curse, he will definitely die. Shaji felt that his brain was swollen, and he didn't know why. When he was thinking about a problem, he always felt that there was a layer of fog hindering his thoughts. He couldn't recall the memory of the original owner, only 1 or 2 fragments of being tortured remained. Now he must find a way to escape before the dark wizard who tormented him returns. But Shaji was desperate. This iron cage was extremely strong, not to mention his frail body now. Even his strong body in his previous life couldn't escape. He tried to think of a way to open the cage, but the fog in his mind was always interfering with his thinking. Let him not think of even a little way to lose it. After working hard for a long time, Shaji was desperate. He felt cold and hungry, and the little bit of strength left in his body was gradually disappearing. Ding! The strongest white wizard training system is being activated. System. Shaji's ashy eyes once again glowed with brilliance. At this moment, Shaji felt that this Fengling Yuying had the same style of ding. It is even more beautiful than the most beautiful music in the world. This is Shaji's only hope of escape. Ding. The system detected that the host had been single for more than 30 years in his previous life, and he was still a virgin until death. Shaji. Ding. According to the law of being single for 30 years, you will become a great magician. The system provides the host with a great magician template. Do you want to apply it? What? Shaji frowned suspiciously, but now he can't control so much. If there is hope of survival, no one wants to die. Apply. Ding. Applying the Great Magician template to the host. Ding. The host successfully applied the Great Magician template. Intelligence +9, Strength +9, Magic Power +9, Black Magic Proficiency +9. Boom. Shaji felt as if a shackle in his body had been broken, and a huge burst of magic power appeared out of thin air, but it miraculously stopped in Shaji's body, and no trace of magic power escaped, so there was no harm to the outside world. No effect. At the same time, Shaji felt that the fog in his head that blocked his thinking suddenly disappeared. Now, he feels that his mind has become clearer than ever. Shaji also felt that his whole body was full of strength now, as if he could tear open the iron cage in front of him with his bare hands at any time. Although his body still looked thin and weak, it contained terrifying strength. Buzz. A panel with light blue light appeared in front of Shaji. The system explained that this was his property panel, which only he could see. Name: Shaji. Race: human. Occupation: Great Mage. Power: 10. Intelligence: 10. Magic Power: 11. Remaining skill points: 0. Curse: none. Talent: none. Black Magic Mastery. Proficiency in Transfiguration: 0. Prophecy Mastery: 0. Potion Mastery: 0. Alchemy Mastery: 0. Expand. Shaji stretched out her finger and clicked on the unfolded button. The panel that was originally a few feet long was instantly elongated, and there were densely packed items underneath. Shaji was a little dazzled, and after a cursory glance, he folded the panel again. He noticed that his intelligence had become 10 points. No wonder, when I was thinking just now, I always felt foggy in my mind. It turns out that the original owner of this body only had an initial intelligence point of 1. Ding. The original owner of the host's body is an idiot with 0 intelligence, which is the initial intelligence of the host. According to the system's explanation, Shaji learned that most ordinary people's panel, strength and intelligence are only around 3 or 4 points. As for the magic power, ordinary adult wizards usually have around 5 points. It can be seen from this that how terrifying the boost this great magician template gave Shaji was. According to the system, in the future, all items on the panel can continue to be added. This surprised Shaji. Ahem, I was a scumbag in my previous life, but how can I have such a low IQ? By the way, how can this magician increase his strength? Shaji changed the subject. Ding. As far as the system knows, magicians like close combat. Shaji's eyes lit up. Indeed, now he has a strength as high as 9 points. If you really want to fight, you can use a big sword in your left hand and a magic wand in your right hand, or simply use a big iron sword in both hands. Now, although Shaji can easily destroy the cage and escape directly, he is not in a hurry. Ding. Since the system has just been activated, the host will be rewarded with a gift package for newbies. Do you want to open it? Open. Shaji was a little pleasantly surprised. She didn't expect that the system also had a gift package for beginners. Ding. The novice gift package is being opened. Ding. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the 3 unforgivable curses at the full level. Shaji froze for a moment. Then he found that on his panel, behind the column of spells, there were 3 more spells. Curse. Avada Kedavra Curse Level 9 Full Level, Cruciatus Curse Level 9 Full Level, Imperious Curse Level 9 Full Level. Talent. None. Black Magic Mastery. 9. P.S. I don't want to use the number of words on the panel, so I will write it on the panel in the future, and only intercept the corresponding items. Shaji asked hesitantly, System, what kind of system did you say you were from at the beginning? Ding. This system is called the Strongest White Wizard Training System. Are you sure you didn't name it wrong? Shaji's face was filled with suspicion. This is another unforgivable curse, and its mastery of black arts 9. Ding. The name of the system is correct. As far as the system knows, powerful white wizards know no less black magic than black wizards, and are even more proficient. It makes sense. Shaji nodded. He reluctantly accepted the reason. Now, it should be time to go out. Shaji only looked at the iron cage door in front of him. The iron cage door was rusty, and a brass lock hung on the door. I don't know how long the original owner has been locked in this cage. Shaji mourned in silence for the original owner who was tortured to death. I will avenge you, I promise. Shaji said in a low voice. This could be regarded as compensation for taking someone else's body. Now, Shaji has only 2 ways to open the iron cage door. The first way is to rely on strong force to break the brass lock. The second method is to open the brass lock with the lockpicking charm. Shaji intends to use the second method. The unlocking spell has appeared many times in the original book, so Shaji only knows the spell. In addition, he really wanted to try the taste of magic. Although he doesn't have a wand in his hand now, but with the template of a great magician, casting spells without a wand is not a problem. Shaji stared at the brass lock, and softly recited the spell in memory. Aola hole is open. Shaji felt a faint magical power coming out of his body along with his gaze, landing on the brass lock. Crack. There was a crisp metal sound, and the brass lock opened in response. At the same time, on Shaji's panel, there was an extra spell after the spell. Curse. Avada Kedavra Curse Level 9 Full Level, Cruciatus Curse Level 9 Full Level, Imperious Curse Level 9 Full Level, Unlocking Curse Level 1. With a slight movement in Shaji's heart, he locked the brass lock again, and then cast the unlocking curse again. He soon discovered that the level of the unlocking curse had become level 2. Ding. Repeated practice of spells is another way to increase the level of spells besides adding points. Since the host has the template of a great magician, with an intelligence of 9 points, his understanding is outstanding. For the not-so-advanced magic of the unlocking spell, can be easily upgraded through practice. Shaji suddenly realized, and then took off the brass lock, and pushed open the door of the iron cage. The door of this iron cage hadn't been opened for an unknown amount of time, and when Shaji pushed it, it made an unpleasant creaking sound. The sound spread far away, and then, Shaji heard cursing and hurried footsteps from a distance, and the black wizard was alarmed. Shaji frowned, but the current him was not afraid to startle the black wizard. After a while, a black-robed wizard with a fierce face appeared at the entrance of the cave. His fierce gaze shot out from the hood and fell on Shaji, who was standing outside the cage. "Little brat, although I don't know how you got out of that dog cage. But it seems that the lessons of the day are not enough." As he spoke, he pulled out a long and thin wooden stick, and was about to cast a spell on Shaji. Drilling, but Shaji moved faster than him. He stretched out a finger and quickly pointed at the black-robed wizard. "The soul is out of the body." The black-robed wizard was hit by Shaji's imperious curse. His ferocious expression froze instantly, and his expression gradually became dull, unable to cast any spells anymore. Shaji walked over slowly, and took the small wooden stick from the black-robed wizard's hand. Ding! The host cast a spell without a wand for the first time, successfully cast the imperious curse. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a full-level occlumency. Shaji was secretly delighted. In the magic world, it is not uncommon to be able to peek into people's thoughts. He didn't want others to read the thoughts in his mind at will. Now, with the full-level occlumency technique, no one can peep into his thoughts anymore. Shaji came back to her senses, looked at the small wooden stick in her hand, and a strange feeling came from the small wooden stick. A light yellow panel suddenly appeared in front of him, different from his light blue attribute panel. This light yellow panel displayed the attributes of the item in his hand. Ding! The host can check the attribute panel of any magic item at any time with the help of the system. Hearing the system prompt, Shaji was very happy. This ability is too perverted, which means that there will be no magic item that can escape his eyes. In other words, it has become almost impossible to plot against him with black magic items. Item: Wand, Stand Body, Blackthorn, Wand Core, Dragon Heartstring. Length: 11¼ inches. Elasticity: very hard. Status: good. The original owner was defeated and changed owner. Fitness: 91%. Affinity to black magic: 89%. Shaji only looked at the attribute panel of the wand, and he recalled that it was indeed mentioned in the original book that although the wand with the dragon heartstring core is powerful, it is easy to change hands. Far less loyal than a wand with a unicorn hair core. Shaji waved his hand casually, and there was a faint sense of submission from the wand. Shaji sensitively noticed it, and he nodded in satisfaction. After getting used to the wand, Shaji's eyes fell on the dull-looking wizard in black robe. The reason why Shaji didn't take this guy away with a killing curse was not because he had a Madonna attack. It was because he had doubts in his mind. Who is the original owner? Who is the black robe wizard? Why was the original owner arrested and locked up, tortured every day? Where is this place? What year is it now? Shaji really wanted to know what happened. Although he doesn't have legilimency now, under the control of the full-level imperious curse, the black-robed wizard can still tell him a lot. What's your name? Shaji pulled a wooden barrel, sat on it, and began to question. Blauer Rex. The black-robed wizard looked dull and his voice was dull. What year is it now? Who am I? Where did I come from? Shaji doesn't have any memory about the original owner. Although the system says the original owner is an idiot, it shouldn't have any memory at all. It's 1991, and you're an orphan, born in a Muggle orphanage in London called Wu's Orphanage. Orphanage. It seems that the original owner is an orphan, but why does this Wu's Orphanage sound so familiar? Shaji didn't get too tangled up, and asked the most concerned question, where is this place, why did you bring me here? This is Albania, we're in a cave in a forest. Because the boss ordered us to gather in Albania before July 1st this year, and each of us must hand over a little wizard with magic power. So, half a year ago, I kidnapped you in that orphanage. After Shaji questioned for a long time, she finally understood why she was here and why the original owner became an idiot. It turned out that this dark wizard named Rex was a werewolf, belonging to a werewolf organization, and his boss was a powerful werewolf named Fenrir Greyback. Fenrir Greyback loves to eat human flesh, especially the flesh of baby wizards. So he often kidnapped some little wizards. These poor people who were kidnapped were either eaten alive or infected by him into werewolves, and their fate was extremely miserable. This werewolf, Shaji only had an impression. Professor Lupine in the original book was infected into a werewolf because his father offended Fenrir Greyback and was revenged by him. Fenrir Greyback, on the other hand, has a very wicked black magic, although he can only use it once a year. Shaji didn't have any impression of this point, and it didn't seem to be mentioned in the original book. This black magic can transform the little wizard into werewolves and make these newly transformed werewolves loyal to him. Young wizards can make this black magic more successful. This is also one of the most important ways for him to replenish his subordinates. Otherwise, although he can turn people into werewolves by just biting people when transforming, these werewolves who are bitten will not be loyal to him. And after this transformation by black magic, it is completely different. The transformed werewolf will succumb to his werewolf blood, and therefore loyal to him. The original owner of Shaji's body is one of the targets to be transformed. Fortunately, it is not yet time for the transformation ceremony. The reason why the original owner became an idiot was entirely because the werewolf wizard in front of him was a psychopath, and he would torture the original owner every day for pleasure. In the past 2 weeks, this werewolf wizard has used the Cruciatus curse even more recklessly. For the past half-month, I have been tortured by the Cruciatus curse every day. No matter how strong the original owner is, he is still just a child. How can he resist the Cruciatus curse, one of the 3 unforgivable curses? A good person is tortured into an idiot. And K. Reese didn't realize this. Seeing that he was not dead, he still tortured him every day. Finally, today, the original owner swallowed his last breath. Shaji traveled through time at this time, and because of this, she took a Cruciatus curse before opening her eyes. Really, you all should be. Shaji's heart was full of anger. This group of people could no longer be called human beings. If his system is not awakened, even if he miraculously survives the torture, he will have to be turned into a werewolf, and life would be worse than death. The moment when Shaji traveled over, this world has become a real world. The dark side that is not described in the original work has always existed in the real world. The dark side of human nature is so ugly. Facing all this directly, Shaji felt angry for a long time. He flicked his wand lightly, and the imperious curse was lifted. He understood everything that should be understood, and there was no need to ask any more questions now. Rex's sluggish expression recovered, and then, the memory of being controlled by the imperious curse just now flooded his mind. The frightened and angry Rex reacted quickly, and as soon as he woke up, he rushed towards Shaji. Cruciate. What? Rex fell under Shaji's wand as soon as he jumped halfway, rolling back and forth in pain. As Fenrir Greyback's subordinate, of course he was tortured by his master's Cruciatus curse. But he swore that even if the pain of all the Cruciatus curse he had suffered before was added up, it would not be as painful as it is now. Shaji's Cruciatus curse is at the full level, and, most importantly, his heart is now full of hatred. That's right, it's not anger, but hatred. Outrageous hatred. Shaji knew that this hatred was caused by the influence of a trace of will in the original owner's body that had not completely dissipated, but Shaji had no intention of stopping it. Take it as the original owner's personal revenge. This hatred made his Cruciatus curse more than 10 times more powerful. Moreover, in order to let this fool suffer soberly, he also specially undid the imperious curse. Forgive me, let me go. Cruciate. What? Although Shaji didn't know the original owner, even until now, he didn't know the original owner's name, because the werewolf wizard Rex who kidnapped him didn't know either. However, this does not prevent Shaji from avenging him. Besides, when he just crossed over, this guy was using Cruciatus to torture himself. Don't you like to torture people and take pleasure in it? Then, why don't you taste the Cruciatus curse yourself? Shaji's tone was very flat, as if he was discussing what he should have for dinner. Rex looked at the thin figure in front of him in horror. His heart was full of despair and confusion. He didn't understand why this little fool who was tortured to death by himself during the day could easily knock himself down at night and skillfully tortured himself with the Cruciatus curse. But this is just a child after all. He shouldn't be hard-hearted. That's right, this is just a child. He definitely can't be as hard-hearted as a stone. Rex saw a glimmer of hope. He decided to beg for mercy. he planned to wait until the other party was distracted and immediately pounce on him. The other party is just a child, as long as he is fast enough, then he will have no time to cast the spell. So, Rex began his performance. No, spare me, I know I was wrong. Shaji watched the other party's poor acting with great interest, and then stretched out her magic wand expressionlessly. Cruciate. What? Why do you think that a person who has been tortured for half a year will soften his heart? Shaji stopped and said leisurely. He is not afraid of Rex pounced on him. With 9 points of strength, even if he doesn't use magic, and could easily kick Rex to the wall. Rex's expression froze, he didn't expect his thoughts to be seen through. However, he didn't wait for him to continue begging for mercy. Cruciate. What? This time, Shaji never stopped again. I don't know how long it took. The screams in the cave gradually subsided, and then, the dazzling green light illuminated the entire cave, and the screams disappeared completely. After a long time, Shaji walked out of the cave slowly. Now, it was already morning, and the soft morning light seemed extremely glaring in front of Shaji's eyes. This body has not seen sunlight for a long time. At this time, the violent feeling in Shaji's heart finally gradually disappeared. At the same time, he felt that the trace of will belonging to the original owner in his body had completely dissipated, and the swelling pain in his head had completely disappeared. This means that the soul he traveled through has completely merged with this body. At the same time, some strange memories gradually resurfaced clearly in his mind. Maybe it won't be long before Shaji will completely remember everything the original owner has experienced. Right now, Shaji is short of breath. On the one hand, it is due to malnutrition caused by being imprisoned for a long time, and on the other hand, it is because he has used the Cruciatus curse for a long time. No wonder it is said that black magic is used too much and it will erode people's hearts. Shaji used the 3 unforgivable curses over and over again. Fortunately, because of the system, the side effects of black magic are minimal for him, and these weak side effects will disappear soon. Ding! The host successfully used the 3 unforgivable curses. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a new treasure chest. May I ask if you want to open it? Open the treasure chest. Although Shaji was very happy now, she was also surprised that there would be rewards for using the unforgivable curse. This system is really wrong. Ding! Congratulations to the host, you have gained controllable silent power. Shaji was startled, silently. He knows what silence is. If an underage wizard resists his own magic power and keeps compressing his own magic power, then a black magic creature called Moran may form in his body. A little wizard with a silent body is called a silent person, and a silent person generally does not live to be 11 years old. Ding! What the host gets is controllable silence, so there are no side effects. When the host becomes silent, he can remain absolutely awake. Shaji opens the properties panel. Curse. Avada Kedavra Curse Level 9 Full Level Cruciatus Curse Level 9 Full Level Imperious Curse Level 9 Full Level Unlocking Curse Level 2 Talent. Obscure. Black Magic Mastery. 9. In the column of talents, there is an additional entry for Obscure. Shaji closed the attribute panel, and with a thought, countless black air suddenly emerged from his body, and then Shaji's entire body disappeared, turning into a mass of black air as black as ink, floating in the air. Incarnation of the silent Shaji, his mind is still clear now, he feels this state is very amazing. In this state, he seems to have a lot of magical abilities. Like being able to fly. Another example, turning into a tornado of black mist that can easily blow up a mountain. He felt that he could even turn into a black mist to avoid the spell. With a thought in Shaji's mind, the black mist condensed and turned into a human body again. He raised his hand, and a thin black air radiated out. He was amazed to find that even by unleashing even a little bit of Moran's power, his magic power and physical fitness could be significantly improved. It is indeed the power that even Grindelwald longed for back then. The current Shaji can be regarded as truly possessing the strength to protect herself. Although silent, it can be regarded as a kind of black magic. This system is indeed very wrong, the White Wizard training system. I believe you idiot. The werewolf wizards were actually very poor, so there was nothing valuable in the cave. Shaji only found a few galleons from the werewolf wizard. Shaji finally saw her own image in this life for the first time in the reflection of a bucket. What surprised him was that the self in the reflection had the same black hair and black pupils as in the previous life. After inquiring about the system, Shaji learned that in this life, she was still a member of the Celestial Dynasty. This familiar image made Shaji feel very cordial. Since I don't know the original owner's name, in this life, my name will be Shaji. Shaji secretly made up her mind. After familiarizing herself with the new ability for a while, and eating something casually, Shaji didn't linger any longer and left the cave. Ding! You must retaliate because you are a black, strike out. As a white wizard, you know that someone is being persecuted, so you should stand up bravely. Save them. Ding! Mission released. Rescue the children kidnapped by the werewolf wizard. If the mission is successful, 2 skill points and a treasure chest will be rewarded. There is no penalty for mission failure. Will the host accept the mission? You want to talk about the Dark Wizard, right? Absolutely. System, I have long thought that something is wrong with you. Ding. Again, the final interpretation is in the hands of the system. If the host does not accept the task within 10 seconds, the task will be cancelled. I'll ask you whether to accept it or not. Shaji waved his hand. I'll take it. It's never been the exclusive province of black wizards to get revenge, and he had no intention of letting these evil werewolves go. Moreover, Shaji felt that he was not a bad person. If he had no ability, it would be fine, but now that he happened to have the power to save people, then he would not be able to do that kind of thing that he would not save. Besides a treasure chest, the reward for this mission also has 2 skill points. This is the first time Shaji has seen skill points. This skill point can be added to any option on the panel. In the long run, that's a nice bonus. Thinking of this, Shaji didn't stay any longer, turned into a cloud of black mist, and flew towards the meeting place where Rex confessed. There are many little wizards who have been kidnapped like him, and he needs to rescue them, and there are also many fools waiting for him to kill. In fact, Shaji had never been on a plane in her previous life. So strictly speaking, this is Shaji's first flight. This is an unprecedented wonderful feeling. Shaji fell in love with this feeling almost the first time he took off from the ground and took to the sky. Free and fun. If it weren't for the incarnation to be silent and difficult to speak, he would have already cheered. Looking at the mountains and rivers passing by below her, Shaji was full of thoughts. This is Albania. It seems that Voldemort hid here after the remaining blood. He had learned from Rex that it happened to be the end of June in 1991, so would he meet Voldemort? It has to be said that this possibility is very high. A centipede is dead but not stiff, so he has to be fully prepared. As for whether to take the initiative to find the remnant soul and get rid of him, Shaji said that he is not interested for the time being. Because even if Shaji is already very strong and can easily defeat Voldemort with residual blood, there is no way to completely eliminate him. Just because Voldemort has Horcruxes, he is invincible. No one can kill his main soul without completely destroying his Horcrux. So Shaji only planned to leave this place after killing this group of werewolves. Shaji, who is flying at high altitude, has all kinds of senses become extremely sensitive. Just when he was enjoying the fun of flying, he heard a loud noise. The source of the sound is in a forest not far away. Shaji's heart skipped a beat, and she flew silently and quickly towards the forest that made the movement. At a distance of several hundred meters, he came close in the blink of an eye. Shaji immediately noticed the scene in front of her. In the forest, a girl with blonde hair, delicate face, and elegant green dress was sitting down on the ground. Although her face was pretending to be calm, her emerald green pupils were still full of panic. In front of her, there was a big hole that seemed to be blasted by a curse. The girl's neat and clean skirt was now covered with mud, making her look in a mess, but she still held up her magic wand and pointed at the enemy in front of her. Around her, several werewolf wizards in ragged clothes were grinning and approaching her constantly. Shaji could clearly distinguish the familiar stench emanating from them even in the air. Boss will be very happy. That's right, he complained to me before that he hasn't eaten sweet flesh and blood for a long time. This girl looks very good, the boss will definitely like it. Maybe we'll get a share too. Maybe a calf for me. The girl who heard their words had an even more terrified expression. She raised her wand tremblingly, trying to recall the spells she had learned in the past. Disarm you. Before she could figure out what spell to use to escape, her wand was taken away by a werewolf wizard with a disarming spell. The girl who lost her wand fell into despair. Another werewolf wizard raised his wand. Dizzy. But before he finished chanting the stun spell, a black mist, exuding an extremely evil aura, swept down from the sky. Directly rolled all the werewolves present into the sky. Ah, ah, ah. After those werewolves were caught off guard, all their wands were dropped, and several werewolf wizards were thrown to death. Only one werewolf wizard was not killed by the fall, but was thrown to the ground by the black mist, losing half his life. The black mist fell to the ground and turned into a human form again. It was Shaji who had just arrived. Without talking nonsense, he stepped on the werewolf wizard and raised his wand at the same time. Cruciate. What? ... After a while. Tell me, where is your camp? Shaji only asked the question after confirming that the werewolf wizard on the ground had completely lost the ability to resist. Because this place is still far away from the gathering place where Rex confessed, but these werewolves appeared here, which means that there is a high probability that there is a camp of werewolf wizards nearby. So Shaji decided to keep a living person and ask. Otherwise, all of them would be killed. The current Shaji didn't have the slightest sympathy for these werewolves. If you have mercy on them, who will feel mercy on those captive children? For so many years, I don't know how many innocent children died under their hands. You, who are you? The werewolf wizard panted heavily, his eyes full of fear. Cruciate. Ah, I say. After the werewolf wizard honestly explained the location of the camp and the number of werewolf wizards inside, he looked at Shaji expectantly. I was wrong, please forgive me, let me go, I'm just a little guy who obeys orders. Shaji said coldly, it's Merlin's business to forgive you, and what I have to do is to send you to see him. Avada Kedavra. The green light shone, illuminating the entire forest. Startled countless birds. Ding. The host is decisive in killing, which fits the positive image of a black, white wizard. This system is very gratifying. Congratulations to the host for getting the Charm +9 reward. Charm. I remember that there is no such thing as charm in the panel. Shaji looked at the panel suspiciously. Now Shaji is used to the systematic daily mustache. Ding. I said yes. Then Shaji saw on his panel, the next item of magic power, as if someone had pressed the enter key, leaving a line empty, and then the word charm gradually appeared on it, and finally appeared behind charm up the number 10. This seemed to prove that Shaji had only a little charisma before. Shaji looked at the panel again. ... Magic power. 11. Charm. 10. Remaining skill points. 0. ... These items can actually be added directly on the spot. I have to say, the system still knows how to play, but what's the use of Charm +9? Ding. This system does not allow any more Dark Lords who look like sockets. The system, you finally stopped pretending, right? It's a showdown, right? I knew something was wrong with you. Ding. The host didn't actually hear what the system said, did he? After all, you don't want the system to send warmth in the future, do you? 10 skill points, I will immediately lose my memory. Ding. 1 skill point, do you want it or not? Yes. What a sting. Shaji muttered to himself, but he still chose to let it go. It's pretty good to be able to prostitute a skill point for nothing. What is the composition of the system? Shaji knew it right from the moment it was activated. I'm not afraid of being led by the nose in the end. Suddenly, Shaji felt someone approaching behind her. He turned around and saw the blonde girl standing up at some point. Hello, my name is Kashan Della Worley. Although I don't need your help, I can get out of trouble myself. But, thank you for your help. The Worley family will definitely thank you. The blonde girl he pretended to be calm and said. But her trembling body and rapid breathing still revealed her panic. It is impossible not to panic in front of a person who is ready for Avada and Cruciatus, and Kashandela is only 11 years old this year. Shaji finally understands why she looks familiar. Isn't this the character from a certain pig farm mobile game in her previous life? He remembered that when the opponent used this character card when he was playing this game, he must be a firework. Ahem, it's getting too far. But Shaji wasn't too surprised. she was able to travel into the world of novels. How strange could it be for a mobile game character to wander around? Hi, Miss Whirly, you're welcome. Shaji smiled at Kushandela, put away her wand, and then turned around to start his favorite search process. After a while, I got several wands, some silver sickles, and some copper nuts, but no gold galleons. Shock. Rex turned out to be the richest werewolf Shaji has ever met. Because he has galleon on him. Shaji turned around, picked up a wand, and handed it to Kushandela with a smile. No, this should be your wand. Shaji could only see the faceplate of the magic item, and could easily tell which wand belonged to Kushandela. Besides, only this wand was brand new, and it should have been bought not long ago. Kushandela shivered, as if she had just recovered. Numbly, she took the wand Shaji gave her. Shaji thought that the little girl was frightened. After all, she was just an 11 or 12-year-old kid. But he forgot one thing, that is his own physical age, and he is also just a kid of 11 or 12 years old. In fact, Kushandela was only intimidated at the beginning. She is still very courageous. The reason why she was in a daze was because when she got closer, she realized that the person who saved her was actually a little wizard who was about her age. She really couldn't equate the thin-looking little wizard in front of her with the decisive man just now who cast the unforgivable curse by raising his hand. So when expressing her gratitude, she habitually stiffened her mouth. But, most importantly, she discovered that the little boy in front of her was actually so good-looking. The good looks in Kushandela's eyes, of course, not only in the handsome face, but also in the temperament. In her eyes, although the boy in front of her was ragged, with disheveled hair and unkempt appearance, there was a kind of paleness on his face that seemed to be caused by malnutrition. But his whole body exudes an indescribably kind and elegant temperament, which makes people feel close to each other. Especially when he laughed, Kushandela felt that her heart was beating uncontrollably at that moment. It wasn't until she took over her wand that she barely recovered. Of course, Shaji, who is the person involved. I didn't know that after the system's charm +9, it was under the blessing of 10 points of charm. In the eyes of Kushandela, her own image has long been glowing and glowing. Hey, don't you think that after a lady introduces herself, a gentleman should also introduce herself? Kushandela regretted after finishing speaking. She felt that her tone seemed too aggressive, although the boy she is about the same age as me, but he is a person who uses the death curse at any time. Thinking of this, Kushandela panicked again. The tone couldn't help but soften a bit. At the very least, you should also tell me your name. Shaji was stunned for a moment, and smiled a little embarrassedly. She was busy searching just now, and seemed to have forgotten Kushandela, which was really rude. Sorry, my name is Shaji. You can just call me Shaji, but please don't call me Ji Sha. He thought of a girl named Chu Jong in the original book. Kushandela's cheeks were a little red, and he was smiling again. Shaji didn't pay attention to Kushandela's reaction. By the way, why are you here? This is not a place where a little wizard of your age should come. Aren't you the same age as me? And why are you here? Well, Kushandela couldn't soften her words at all. Especially in front of Shaji, this guy seems to have a natural affinity. Anyone in front of him can't help but show his most relaxed side, as if any disguise can't work in front of him. Shaji's smile gradually faded, and there was a hint of sadness on her face. As the original owner's memory gradually recovered, Shaji felt more and more sympathy for the original owner's misfortune. Of course I was captured by them. Kushandela sensitively captured Shaji's sad expression. Her heart trembled slightly, and she also became sad. Why is he so sad? What did he go through? Why do I even have a little heartache? Also, why can he turn into a black mist and descend from the sky? Kushandela was full of curiosity about the boy who fell from the sky to save her life. Kushandela certainly knows what silence is, but as far as she knows, silence is without any conscious awareness. So when she saw Shaji's silent state, she didn't react. Since you were arrested by them, why are you now? Kushandela looked at Shaji, hesitant to speak. She had many questions, but she didn't know where to start. Moreover, she still had the fear of Shaji in her heart, and her heart was warning her that in front of a wizard who could cast the unforgivable curse at any time, she should keep silent instead of asking this and that. But for some reason, she still asked, as if subconsciously felt that Shaji would not hurt her. Of course, after asking, she regretted it again. What if he felt that he was troublesome and just gave him an avada? I don't want to die yet. Kushan Della's mood is extremely complicated and contradictory. If Shaji only has mind-reading skills, she will definitely be confused by the thoughts in her heart. Of course Shaji wouldn't release avada on her casually, he's not some kind of socket genius. Now he just wants to get rid of Kushan Della quickly, because he just found out about another camp, and now he has another job to do. According to the urine nature of the system, it seems that the more ferocious it is, the more excited it is. After this wave of cleaning up the stronghold mission is completed, there will definitely be something to gain. Although the system is not quite right, it is still very effective in sending warmth. My matter, it's a long story. Shaji sighed, looking up at the sky at 45 degrees. Of course, it's not that Shaji deliberately pretended to be 13, but that he really felt that his story was a bit long, and he didn't know how to make it up yet, so he acted subconsciously when he was a little depressed. Shaji has no idea that he has now become a more abstract existence than Vila, because the targets he influences are irrespective of gender, age or age. Every movement he makes at will, and every trace of emotion he radiates at will can move the people around him. This is of course a trick of the system. You Dark Lord, ah no, would the Great White Wizard give a speech? Does the speech move the audience emotionally? As a training system for the strongest White Wizard, I will make you more attractive and achieve a slightly effect of 100 million points. Isn't it normal? I am simply too competent. Kushan Della's mood has been driven, and Shaji's somewhat depressed mood, under Kushan Della's imagination, turned into melancholy. Looking at the big boy who was acting a little melancholy, Kushan Della actually had an urge to help him desperately. Shaji turned her head and said with a smile, Miss Worley, my story is a bit long, but I still have some important things to do. How about you go back to your family first? If there is a chance in the future, I will talk to you again. You tell my story. Well, I'll tell you later, I haven't made it up yet. A young lady appeared in this forest with decent clothes and exquisite makeup. Of course, she didn't come here by herself. It was very likely that she was out for a trip or something, and then she was temporarily separated from her family and met bad guys. My 3 servants, 2 were killed by them, and 1 was missing, so it should have been. Kushan Della's tone was a little low, although she always had a superior attitude towards servants and the like on the surface, but that is only the surface. I'm sorry. Shaji didn't know how to comfort her for a while. So can I follow you for a while? Don't get me wrong. I just want to find my missing servant, maybe he's not dead yet. Kushan Della said, turning her face away, as if he didn't dare to meet Shaji's eyes. Shaji just touched her nose, and suddenly there was an extra oil bottle, which made things inconvenient, but she couldn't be left alone in this forest, right? If she ever met the noseless one. The weird image of a face growing behind Kushan Della's head circled around in Shaji's mind, and then Shaji forcibly dismissed it. It was so shocking. No way, after the increase in intelligence, the imagination has become too rich. Okay, then let's go together. Shaji nodded, but if you encounter any danger, you have to hide. Of course, I don't doubt your strength, it's just that my spells are not very good. It is easy to miss, and it will be bad if it hits you. You, an 11 or 12-year-old little wizard, can actually use the Cruciatus curse to torture an adult wizard to the point of rolling on the floor. Does that mean you don't know how to spell well? You know, even if a young wizard at this age uses the unforgivable curse, at most it can only cause some nosebleeds to an adult wizard. Of course Cassie Della understood that Shaji said this out of concern for her own face. Does he care so much about my feelings? Kushan Della thought about it again, and she didn't know what she thought of. After a while, her ears turned red. Of course, only the existence of Shaji with a charm plus 10 can have such an effect. If another little wizard said such a thing, although she, Cassandella, would not immediately draw out her wand to duel with him, she would still be very upset. Ding! The host has successfully obtained Kushan Della's 100 million favorability points. A random talent will be rewarded. May I ask the host if he will receive it? P.S. Chinese used by the system to communicate with the protagonist. Shaji was a little confused. She saved someone's life, so she should still have a little favorability, but because of this little favorability, there will be rewards. This system is too considerate. Am I wrong about it? Ding. That's right, 100 million points of favorability. Congratulations to the host. May I ask if the host has received a random talent? Receive. Ding. Talent is being randomly drawn. Shaji waited expectantly for the system's notification tone. Ding. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the most advanced Parseltongue talent. Under this talent, all snakes will take orders from you first. Quote. The corner of Shaji's mouth twitched. Is this really random? Are you sure? Do you dare to give me a reward that has nothing to do with black wizards? System, I seriously suspect that you have brought some private goods. In the original book, Parseltongue was described as a talent that only dark wizards have. Harry Potter, who was in the 2nd grade, was also misunderstood by everyone for a long time because he exposed his talent. And Harry had this talent only because Voldemort left a piece of his own soul in his head. Ding. Why do you defile people's innocence out of thin air? Didn't I reward occlumency? Occlumency is not black magic. With occlumency, you can well hide the black magic I learned. System, if it wasn't for this reason, you wouldn't reward me for this, right? Ahem. Dumbledore can speak Parseltongue. Why don't you say it? This time the system didn't even ding. I learned Dumbledore by myself. It's a skill, not a talent, okay. Ding. Do you want it? The system made a big move. I want it. Of course Shaji had to accept it. He had accepted all 3 unforgivable curses at full level, and he was afraid of a mere Parseltongue. Give it directly next time. The whole thing is randomly selected. Who doesn't know that your rewards are all predetermined? Shaji whispered. You can actually give me a full-level disarm spell. Ding. Don't you know the spell? Practice it yourself. Shaji choked on the system. But the system is right. Compared to the disarming curse that can be practiced by oneself, it is easier to acquire talents like Parseltongue directly. After exchanging a few words with the system, Shaji continued on the road. What Shaji didn't know was that when he was so angry by the system, Cassandela, who was following him, was puzzled. Why did his shoulders twitch? Could it be that he was crying? By the way, he said that he was captured by these werewolf wizards, and he didn't know how long he was locked up, let alone what he had experienced. Cassandela walked all the way, thinking all the way, I don't know how long those people tortured him before they let him use the unforgivable spell, so merciless, and the effect is so good. His heart must be full of hatred, which is understandable. Those werewolves are so cruel. They actually plan to catch me, give it to their boss, and then eat me. It's terrible. Ah, he must have experienced a lot of such horrible things. He must have endured a lot in silence. Cassandela suddenly wanted to go around and look at Shaji's face. Is he really crying? But my mother said that boys don't seem to like being seen crying. But I really want to see it. What should I do? Ah, I'd better hold back. I'm really understanding. If he knows what I'm thinking, he must be very moved. Ding. Congratulations to the host. Cassandela's favorability has increased by another 100 million points. HMPH. There is no reward this time. Shaji. Somehow. With an extra oil bottle, Shaji would not be able to fly directly. Had to accompany Cassandela to walk slowly. It's not that he didn't think about turning into Moran directly, and then rolled up Cassandela to fly. But Moran's power is too powerful. If you are not careful, you will use too much force. Cassandela will have to die. Forget it. Let's go on foot, it's not far away. When we arrived at the camp, after a wave of cleanup, we rested for another night. After getting out of trouble, it seems that he hasn't had a good rest yet. Shaji secretly planned. Along the way, Shaji also learned from Cassandela why Cassandela came to this sleazy forest. Cassandela's parents have always been busy and have no time to spend with their precious daughter. So I just entrusted my daughter to 3 servants to take care of her. The 3 servants are Marcus, the housekeeper, and Vanessa and Delia, the 2 maids who take care of Cassandela. Cassandela, who was bored at home, accidentally learned from the housekeeper one day that there are all kinds of interesting magical animals and countless beautiful landscapes in the forests of Albania. So Cassandela, who was extremely bored at home, became hot-headed, and without telling the family, she brought 3 servants over to travel. Unexpectedly, as soon as they arrived in the Albanian forest, they encountered a group of werewolf wizards. The 2 maids disappeared on the spot, and the housekeeper was also missing. After Shaji heard it, she grinned, thinking, "This is too bloody. If the housekeeper has no problem, I will wash my hair upside down." The camp was actually not far away, and soon, they saw the campfire in the camp. The 2 quickly hid behind a big tree. Cassandra is putting on an air of composure, but the horror in her eyes betrays her. "Why did you encounter their camp here? Didn't you ask about their camp?" Cassandra was very puzzled. He thought Shaji only asked about the camp of these werewolves in order not to run into each other head-on, but now he went straight to his lair. Shaji gave her a strange look. "I was looking for them. Isn't it normal to run into their camp?" "Ah," Cassandra almost exclaimed. She lowered her voice. "Are you crazy? What are you doing with them? Could it be that you..." She widened her emerald green eyes. Shaji just glanced at her and nodded. "That's right, that's what you think. I'm here to settle accounts with them. But, you are likely to die. In addition to them, there will be more children killed by them. Therefore, they must die." Shaji's eyes were firm, staring at the campfire in the distance. Cassandra looked at his pale and handsome cheeks, and was a little absent-minded for a moment. He turned out to be such a great person. Shaji only glanced at Cassandra, a little hesitant. If she was alone, she would definitely kill her, but there is an extra oil bottle. Shaji felt that he couldn't be so reckless this time, and suddenly he remembered his talent for parseltongue. According to the system, this is the most advanced kind. Why not try it now? Albanian forests are full of snakes. So, Shaji straightened up and made a hiss sound in his mouth. After a while, there were rustling sounds in the originally silent forest around. Shaji only knew that it was the sound of poisonous snakes crawling. It was already night, the werewolf wizards in front had already gone to bed. It was the best time for poisonous snakes to attack. Shaji only saw the surprised look in Cassandra's eyes, smiled, and prepared to explain a few words to her. Cassandra, who is destined to enter Slytherin, naturally does not have any prejudice against parseltongue, so Shaji does not shy away from using this ability in front of her. Just when Shaji was about to speak, he was suddenly speechless, because a big snake as thick as a bucket had rushed into the camp. Shaji just stared at the camp in front of him in vain chaos, and then bursts of screams came over. "I seem to have summoned an incredible guy." Shaji swallowed hard. Because of the big snake, Shaji, who originally planned to attack silently, had to change his plan. "Stay here, there are too many snakes inside. I'm afraid I'll hurt you," Shaji said, and he had already stood up, ready to go. Cassandra stared at him blankly, then nodded subconsciously. If her parents saw this scene, they would definitely be shocked. They had never seen their daughter so well behaved before. Shaji turned into a cloud of black mist and swept towards the camp. In this camp, there were still 10 werewolf wizards left. If Shaji hadn't summoned the snakes just now, they might still be in danger now. After all, there are many people on the opposite side, and Moran is not really invincible. Shaji will also be injured after being cursed. But now, not only are poisonous snakes everywhere in the camp, but there is also a ridiculously big giant snake raging. Less than a minute after the battle started, 2 werewolf wizards were already bitten to death by the giant snake. But those werewolf wizards were all desperados after all, and after recovering, they drew out their wands to fight. When they got serious, those poisonous snakes couldn't do anything to adult wizards like them. So most of the attention of these werewolf wizards was focused on dealing with the huge adder. This big snake has amazing fighting power. The spells falling on its scales rarely work, but if you are bitten by it, you will definitely die. Moreover, its tail also has powerful attack power. Few werewolf wizards can withstand it. At this time, Shaji arrived. Shaji turned into a black mist of silence, sweeping towards him. Whether it was tents or trees encountered along the way, they were all thrown into the sky by him. Where the black mist passed, the ground seemed to have been turned over by a huge plow, leaving deep marks. Brush. Shaji rolled up the 2 werewolf wizards and flew into the sky. In the black mist, the screams of the 2 werewolf wizards kept coming. After a while, the screams disappeared, and the two stiff corpses fell from the sky and fell hard to the ground. What the hell is this? Oh, no, help me. Ah, I was bitten, please help. ... Under the silent joint attack of Orochi and Shaji, all the werewolf wizards in the camp were wiped out in less than 5 minutes. Shaji put away her silent state, turned into a human again, and fell to the ground. Panting slightly, he looked curiously at the huge adder in front of him. The giant snake slowly crawled up in front of him, spitting out a long letter. Hiss. I have never met a wizard who can talk to a snake. You are the first one, so I heard you say that when we need our help in fighting, I will come. Shaji just stared at the huge snake head in front of him, a little dazed. He had never seen such a big snake in his previous life and present life. However, Shaji recovered quickly, and replied in Parseltongue, hiss. Thank you for your help, what's your name, please? After Shaji finished asking, there was a faint guess in her heart. Hiss. My name is Nagini, I have lived in this forest for a long time, can I always follow you? You have an aura that attracts me very much. Shaji was secretly startled, this really was Nagini, Voldemort's pet in the future. Or, is it Voldemort's pet now? Come here now to trick yourself. Although Nagini said that he was the first wizard he met in this forest that could communicate with him, Shaji couldn't confirm whether he was telling the truth. Shaji carefully looked at Nagini in front of him, and then called the system. He really couldn't tell if Nagini in front of him had become Voldemort's pet. If Nagini had a socket spirit attached to him right now, it would be dangerous. Ding. Very good. As a great white wizard, being able to intercept the Dark Lord's pet is a matter of far-reaching significance. This has greatly weakened the Dark Lord's power. Host, you have done another good deed. Quote. System, according to you, Nagini hasn't met Voldemort yet. Ding. Yes, according to my test, Nagini has not met Voldemort yet, and it is now attracted by your breath, and wants to become your pet. A breath on me. What breath? Ding. Of course it's the aura of Parseltongue talent that you dislike. Parseltongue doesn't just mean being able to talk to snakes. A wizard with a Parseltongue talent will have the aura that snakes are willing to get close to, otherwise why do you think Parseltongue can drive snakes? And what you got is the most advanced Parseltongue talent. Of course Nagini feels you are close and wants to follow you. Seeing that Shaji was silent for a long time, Nagini thought that Shaji was unwilling, hiss. If you feel embarrassed, then forget it. Hope to see you again next time. Nagini turned the snake's head and prepared to leave. Hiss hiss. Wait a minute, of course you can follow me all the time if you want, but you have to listen to me and don't hurt people casually. Nagini nodded happily. Its intelligence is very high, but in this forest, only snakes can communicate with it, but those snakes are not very intelligent. So it's actually pretty lonely. Now meeting Shaji, a sorcerer who can talk to him and has a very friendly aura about him, he is really very happy. Shaji sighed, and looked at Nagini with a trace of pity in his eyes. Of course he knew that Nagini was actually a human being, but he was cursed by the blood curse orc, so he completely turned into a snake, even as a human being. The memory of the time has completely disappeared. In the future, we must find a way to unravel its curse. This is of course because of the pity in Shaji's heart, definitely not because Nagini was a beautiful woman when she was still a human. Absolutely not because of this reason. But soon, Shaji had a problem. This Nagini is much bigger than it looks in the movie. How should I take it away? Then Shaji remembered the system. System, I'll kill 5 in this wave. No rewards. In this battle, Nagini killed 5 werewolf wizards with 1 snake, and Shaji rushed up to snatch 5 heads. He wondered if the system would refuse to give rewards if Nagini took all the heads. Ding. The host cleaned up the werewolf camp and cut off the Dark Lord's pet. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the full level no trace stretching curse. Not bad. This is good. Shaji knew that now she was not worried about not being able to take Nagini away. He always thought that the no trace stretching curse was just a bug-like spell. Newt's suitcase, how big is it? But the inside is huge. All kinds of magical animals, stuffed in a bunch, cannot interfere with each other. This spell is really so strong that it doesn't make sense. Newt's untraceable stretching curse probably hasn't reached the full level yet, but the effect is already so good. What I got now is the full level untrace stretching curse. How effective is it? Shaji is looking forward to it. Hiss. Shaji, can I eat them? I'm a little hungry. Nagini looked at the corpses of those werewolf wizards. Hiss. It's best not to eat people. I'll find something else for you to eat. Shaji did not agree to Nagini's request to eat the corpse. This is also for its own good. If it breaks the curse in the future and remembers its experience of cannibalism, it will definitely leave a psychological shadow. Shaji planned to search the camp to see if there was anything to eat, but after Nagini mentioned it, Shaji realized that she was also hungry. Kashandela stayed behind the big tree until the dust settled before coming out. Then I saw Shaji and that weird big snake, hissing. The big snake looked very happy. Flicking its tail, it swept away several small trees. In the end, Shaji seemed to be admonishing the big snake, but the big snake actually nodded. I must be crazy, Kasandela said to herself. She already guessed that Shaji only has the talent of Parseltongue. She was a little curious about why Shaji had the talent for Parseltongue, but when Shaji chatted with her on the road before, she mentioned that she was born in an orphanage, so she didn't intend to ask. The talents of Parseltongue are generally inherited by blood. But you have to ask an orphan who his ancestors are, and then infer why he has Parseltongue. Kashandela asks herself that she is not such an idiot. So, you became friends. Kashandela came over, curiously looking at the big green snake in front of her. Yes, without Nagini's help, I think I might get hurt. Shaji said happily. Oh, by the way, Nagini is its name. Did you name it? No, it told me. Shaji was searching around while chatting with Kashandela. After all, this is his favorite project. Shaji just walked around and picked up a tattered tent. This is already the best tent in the entire camp. There is no way. Moran's power is too powerful, and he attacks with all his strength, like a Category 12 hurricane, breaking anything. By the way, Miss Wally. Actually, you can call me Kasandela directly. Kasandela's face turned red again. Okay, Kashandela, what's the spell for the healing spell? Shaji couldn't remember the spell for the healing spell. Do you want to fix this tent? Yeah, it's late now, we need a place to rest. Shaji looked helplessly at the tattered tent in front of him. This kind of tent has a traceless stretching spell, and it cannot be repaired with a general repairing spell. Even if it is repaired, the traceless stretching spell inside has already expired. Kashandela was born in a wizard family after all. Although I haven't officially entered school yet, I already know a lot of spells and common sense. If you don't believe it, you can try it. The mantra of the restoration curse is, restore to original. Shaji nodded, and waved her wand casually. It's back to normal. Of course, it's not enough to just know the spells, you have to know the spell casting gestures, you should. Before Kashandela finished speaking, she saw a huge change in the dilapidated tent in front of her. It seemed that an invisible big hand was silently repairing the tent. In just a few seconds, the tent became as new as when it was just produced. Kashandela opened her small mouth, her face full of disbelief, not to mention that Shaji was only casting the restoration spell for the first time. Even if an adult wizard wants to repair this dilapidated tent, he will have to recite the repair spell several times, and it will take several minutes to restore the tent to its original appearance. But Shaji cast the spell for the first time, and after only reading it once, the tent was repaired, and the tent was as good as new. It's not that Kashandela has never seen someone restore things to look like new ones, but it takes a lot of time to restore such a big tent to a new look. Shaji just waved his magic wand casually. Just chant a mantra, all right. What about the spell casting gesture? What about syllable pauses when chanting mantras? Kashandela bit her lip, followed Shaji's example, pulled out her wand, and waved at a broken iron pot, back to the original. Then the iron pot didn't change at all. Kasandela put down her wand in frustration, and then followed her previous understanding, paying attention to the spell casting gesture, the syllable paused, and recasting the spell. Finally, under her spell, the iron pot began to be repaired. The healing spell works very well, and he is indeed the most proud magical genius of the Whirly family. But Kashandela, who just watched Shaji cast a spell, felt like a clown. You use the healing spell really well. Shaji admired from the bottom of her heart. Kasandela gritted her teeth. feeling the urge to kick him for the first time. How could his magical talent be so good, considering that he didn't even know the incantation of the restoration charm just now? This is the first time Cassidella feels frustrated with her magical talent. Chapter 11. Shaji didn't notice Cassandella's mood change. He happily opened the curtain of the tent. Sure enough, the untraceable stretching curse in the tent had failed. Cashandella also saw what was going on in the tent. Let me just say, the untraceable stretching curse has failed. Suddenly, she faltered again. Actually, this tent is not too small. If there are 2 people, it's okay to squeeze together. It's not a problem without the untraceable stretching curse. Before Cashandella finished speaking, Shaji said excitedly, the untraceable stretching curse, I happen to be good at this spell. What? You? Shaji has already started to cast the spell, the full-level Wuan stretching curse. The effect is really good. The tent originally only had a few square meters of space, but under Shaji's spell, the inner space was slowly stretched, and finally stopped at about 80 square meters. Of course, this is not the limit of Shaji, but he feels that the tent has such a large space, it is enough. It's so big, it should be enough. What do you think, Cashandella? Shaji looked at the situation in the tent with satisfaction. Cashandella put on a pretty face, snorted, and entered the tent, ignoring Shaji. Shaji was confused. This little girl is so well behaved, why did she get angry all of a sudden? But Shaji didn't think too much about it. As a little girl, she always gets angry for no reason. Now he is going to go out to find something to eat. The most important thing is that Nagini's appetite will definitely not be small. Hiss. Nagini, can you stay here and help me protect Cashandella? I'll get something to eat. Nagini nodded the snake's head, and the snake body coiled around the door of the tent. Shaji became silent and flew into the sky. There were many large animals in the forest. It didn't take long before Shaji rolled up 2 wild deer and flew back. Both deer were very big. Shaji only had 1 leg, and the rest was fed to Nagini. After eating 2 deer, Nagini said that he will not need to eat for the next 2 weeks. Shaji cast a traceless stretching spell on an intact pocket of her coat, and Nagini, who was full, crawled into Shaji's pocket and fell asleep. On Shaji's body, it feels more at ease. After setting up Nagini, Shaji set up a fire, and after cooking the meat, put it on the rack to roast. He has been trapped for more than half a year, and he hasn't eaten enough for a long time. Before the venison was cooked, Shaji was already salivating uncontrollably. As he turned the grill, he sprinkled the seasoning he had scavenged. Fortunately, in his previous life, Shaji had excellent cooking skills, so even though there were very few seasonings, the venison was still full of aroma from being roasted by him. Suddenly, he heard footsteps behind him and knew it was Cashandella. This little girl hasn't eaten all day. Now that she smells such delicious venison, how can she sit still? The meat is almost ready. Why don't you come and eat some? HMPH. This kind of casually grilled meat is not delicate at all, so I don't care. Really? Then I'll finish eating by myself. You. Casandella ultimately lost out on the roast, blushing and eating a large piece of roast venison. Shaji had a very enjoyable meal this time. How long has it been since this body touched meat? Just when he sighed, he should leave 1 more deer leg. Suddenly, a green light flew out of the forest. Avada Kedavra. The green light goes straight to Cashandella. From hearing the sound to seeing the green light, Cashandella had no time to escape. She stared blankly at the green light. This is a death curse. Am I going to die? But I really don't want to die. This moment, time seemed to be slowed down. Casandella turned her head and stared blankly at Shaji, as if she wanted to remember that figure deeply at the last moment of her life. Shaji had already reacted when she saw the green light. Countless black mist emanated from his body, which greatly increased his speed. He rushed over and threw Casandella to the ground. He didn't completely turn into Moran, because if he completely turned into Moran, his power would be hard to control, and Cashandella's fragile body would be easily crushed by him. Cashandella stared blankly at the big boy in front of her, throwing herself down, and then the fatal green light hit the back of the big boy in front of her. No, Cashandella exclaimed, looking at the big boy in front of her in disbelief. He even blocked a death curse for himself. Except for the legendary boy who lived from Harry Potter, no one has ever been able to survive a death curse, never. Shaji. She couldn't believe it. She was happily eating barbecue just now, while coaxing her big boy carefully, and died in front of her like this. Why are you so stupid? Kushandela desperately hugged the boy in her arms, her heart was filled with unparalleled sadness. Tears instantly filled her beautiful green eyes. It was the second time she had seen someone die in front of her. The first time, it was her two maids who were like sisters. And every time, she could only watch helplessly, completely helpless. Ahem, Kushandela, let me go. Shaji struggled to break free from her arms. The little girl's strength was so great. With her +10 strength, she almost didn't strangle her to death. You're not dead. Kushandela was stunned, with tears in her eyes, but her expression was full of surprise. Before Shaji could answer, she hugged Kushandela and pushed her into the tent. He didn't know how many people there were in the woods. In the tent, you can temporarily avoid the sneak attack of the death curse. Hiss. Nagini. Find him, bring him here. Shah's face was gloomy, and his expression looked very much like a certain socket spirit. He is very angry now, and the consequences are serious. Nagini flashed out of Shaji's pocket like lightning, and rushed into the woods. Shaji didn't go up in person. If there were other enemies in the forest, Kushandela in the tent would be in danger if he wasn't there. This time, the other party was clearly targeting Kushandela. I thought you were dead. Kushandela covered her little mouth, looking at Shaji who was alive and kicking in front of her, the tears in her eyes were still flowing uncontrollably. Shaji's gloomy face finally relaxed, he smiled, and took out an iron pot from behind. Your repairing spell is really good. I didn't lie to you, look, even the killing spell can work. Stop it. Kushandela looked at the iron pot in front of her. There was a small sunken hole on the iron pot. This should be where the killing curse hit, but it failed to penetrate. When Shaji rushed over just now, he had already controlled an iron pot with black mist, and stuffed it into his loose robe. Although there is no spell that can resist the killing curse, it is only afraid of physical defense. If it is blocked by a hard object, it will not be able to cause harm to people. But this is also a very dangerous thing, in case Shaji didn't calculate the location of the death curse, in case the iron pot was penetrated. The consequences are unimaginable. Looks like I have to put this iron pot away, it saved my life. Shaji looked at the iron pot happily. Shaji suddenly felt his body tighten, and then found himself being embraced in a soft embrace. It turned out that Kushandela hugged him. Shaji realized that her front was wet with Kushandela's tears. Of course you have to keep it well, it not only saved your life. It also saved my life. Shaji smiled and patted Kushandela on the back. All right, I will keep it for the rest of my life, don't be afraid, with me and Nagini here, no one can hurt you. Shaji's mental age is far greater than her physical age, so she didn't notice that there was anything wrong with Kushandela. She coaxed her like coaxing a child. Facing the 11-year-old little loli, Shaji really has no strange thoughts now, he is not a lolicon. But Kushandela is different, the girl is already precocious, and this boy just helped her block a death curse just now. Which girl would not be tempted when encountering such a thing? Shaji comforted Kushandela like an adult, and then Kushandela gave her a big white eye. Ah, let go of me. Ah, suddenly, screams came from outside the tent. Shaji opened the curtain of the tent, walked out, and then saw a bloody man thrown to the ground by Nagini. Hiss, hiss, there is only one enemy, and I have captured it back. Hiss, very well, thank you, Nagini. When the man saw Shaji talking to the giant snake, he was scared out of his wits. Parseltongue. This kid is a Parseltongue. In his impression, those with the talent of Parseltongue are all black wizards who kill without blinking an eye. I actually used the death curse in front of him. This is an incredible provocation. He subconsciously wanted to apparate, but he had lost his wand long ago, and without it, he couldn't apparate yet. He just cast a death curse and ran away, and he didn't see whether he hit it. Otherwise, if he saw Shaji standing in front of him alive and kicking after taking a death curse, he would be scared to death. Marcus, it's you. Kushandela also came out, and she quickly noticed the man on the ground. Shaji folded her arms with great interest, and stayed with Nagini to watch the excitement. It seems that this man is the butler Marcus mentioned by Kushandela. Shaji only knew that he didn't need to wash his hair upside down, and he knew without asking that Cassandela was coaxed to come here by him. Marcus, you tricked me into coming to Albania just to kill me. Why? Cassandela asked angrily. Marcus lay on the ground, trembling and lowering his head, not knowing what he was thinking, and did not answer Cassandela. It seems that you still haven't seen the situation clearly. My Nagini is still hungry. If you don't tell the truth, I will have to feed you to Nagini. Marcus looked up and gave the huge adder a horrified look. I said, someone paid me to find a way to get rid of you, Cassandela. Who is it? Who paid you to kill me? Cassandela sullenly. I forgot. Marcus looked at Nagini's mouth that was spitting out the letter in horror. After the deal was negotiated, the other party cast a forgetting spell on me, and deleted all the information about them in my mind. Memories. They only left me a message to kill you, and a large sum of galleons. This time I tricked you into Albania to follow the werewolf wizard's hand and get rid of you. Marcus, our family has always been good to you. You want to kill me, I can understand. But Vanessa and Delia, they always treat you like a big brother. Why not even letting them go? It was an accident, Cassandela. I really never thought of killing them too. Those werewolves don't keep their promises. Marcus's body was trembling. Please forgive me. It's really not my fault. I'm really short of money. Cruciate. Marcus rolled on the ground in pain. Shaji looked at Cassandela in surprise, because it was not him who used the Cruciatus curse, but Cassandela, who was only 11 years old. Although Cassandela is about the same age as Shaji, she is actually completely different from Shaji. Shaji only has the big cheat of the system, so he can use the unforgivable curse casually. Now Cassandela is using it all by herself, and it seems to be working great. Although knowing that without systematic help, Cassandela's use of the unforgivable curse will inevitably have some side effects, but Shaji did not stop it. Because he has no power to prevent others from revenge. Don't persuade others to be kind without suffering from others. This is the truth that Shaji has always understood. If he was Cassandela, he would only be more murderous. Cassandela's heart is full of hate now. Because of Marcus, she lost the maid who accompanied her since she was a child and loved her as a sister. What's more, Marcus's spell nearly killed Shaji. Unforgivable. For a long time, Shaji held Cassandela's trembling hand. Enough. If you continue like this, your body won't be able to bear it. Cassandela finally couldn't bear it, threw herself into Shaji's arms, sobbing softly, and it was the first time she showed such a weak side in front of others. Cassandela, can you go to the tent first? We seem to have another guest. No, I don't want to just watch. I can't help anything. I'm so helpless. I don't want to go through it again. Cassandela's eyes were firm. Okay. Shaji motioned Nagini to protect Cassandela. Shushisha. At this time, 5 werewolf wizards came out from the forest. Haha, Marcus, you coward, have you been put down by 2 brats? Great, I'm short of a little wizard to hand over to the boss, and this is just right. There are 2. Tisk tisk, that little girl has delicate skin and tender flesh, the flesh and blood must be delicious. The boss must like it very much. Wait a minute. Watch out for that big snake. Don't worry, the 5 of us are enough to deal with 1 snake. Several werewolf wizards noticed Nagini, completely ignoring Shaji and Cassandela on the side. After all, this is just a little girl and a thin boy. In their eyes, these 2 children have long been their prisoners. Shaji didn't talk nonsense, and he didn't have the slightest bit of mercy for the werewolf wizards of this organization. Raising your hand as a silent killing curse. A green light flashed, and a werewolf wizard was hit by a spell, and his body was thrown into the air by the powerful impact. His body turned several times in the air before falling to the ground without a sound. The remaining 4 werewolf wizards were taken aback. They had no idea that such a thin child could use such a powerful killing curse. Cassandela saw that Shaji made a move, and also threw a disarm spell. She couldn't use the killing curse. Those werewolf wizards are very strong. After all, they are all outlaws. They would have died long ago. A werewolf wizard casually blocked Cassandela's spell, and then threw a stun spell backhand. He also wanted to capture Casandela alive and dedicate it to his boss. Nagini lifted his tail lazily, easily blocking the stunning spell. It didn't go up to fight. According to Shaji's meaning, it had to keep Casandela safe. Shaji turned into a black mist, dodging several green lights shooting at him. Then the backhand as a few killing spells. No mantra is required at all. After a while, there was only one werewolf wizard left, whose calf was injured by Casandela's spell. And Marcus, who was lying on the ground dying, didn't know who had been hit by the killing curse, and he didn't make a sound. The werewolf wizard glanced at all his companions who had been killed by the death curse, and was terrified in his heart. Don't forgive me, Avada Kedavra. The green light flashed, and the last werewolf wizard was also killed by Shaji. Just when Shaji breathed a sigh of relief and was about to put away his wand, he suddenly felt like he was being stared at by some ferocious beast. Right behind him. Could it be Voldemort with this level of powerful magic power? But isn't he bloody? A bloody Voldemort still has such powerful magic power. Before Shaji turned her head, she heard Casandela's exclamation, "Professor Dumbledore." Shaji almost fell to the ground. What the, old dang, are you the legendary timing man? So we'll catch the time. Hiss, use the killing curse in front of Dumbledore. What should I do? Urgent, wait online. Ding, an urgent mission is issued. Please ask the host for understanding from Dumbledore. If the mission is successful, reward a Philosopher's Stone. The mission failed. The system did not continue. If you don't succeed, just send it directly. Shaji felt helpless, and her heart felt cold. Just from the generous rewards after success, she knew how difficult this task was. With his current strength, the method is too single, and he will definitely not be able to defeat Dumbledore. Fortunately, my full-level occlumency has always been turned on. Shaji turned her head slowly, only to see an old wizard in a purple wizard robe slowly walking out of the forest. Tall and thin, with a waist-length white beard, half-moon eyes, blue pupils, and a curved nose that seemed to have been broken several times. It was Dumbledore Honda. He looked at Shaji seriously. Shaji looked into his eyes calmly, and spoke first. Are you here to kill me too? It made sense for Shaji to ask this question. After all, Shaji was born in a Muggle orphanage, so it was normal that he didn't know Dumbledore. In many cases, it is a good way for the wicked to file a complaint first. Shaji understood that killing these werewolf wizards by herself was not wrong. After all, it is for self-protection. The crux of the problem is that Shaji only used the death curse. And it's also extremely proficient in killing curses. At this point in time, Dumbledore's nerves were very sensitive. After all, the socket spirit hadn't really been wiped out yet. He would never allow another Dark Lord to appear again. Therefore, when he ran into Shaji, who was only 11 years old, who was able to use such a powerful killing curse mercilessly, one could imagine how complicated and shocked he felt. Naturally, he would think of someone from his childhood. If Dumbledore can understand that he has to use the unforgivable curse, then there is still a chance to be forgiven. As for why he used the death curse so slipperily, Shaji also had a plan. Therefore, the first thing Shaji did was to make a head start, and then diverted Dumbledore's attention from using the unforgivable curse to wanting to understand what happened to him. Are you here to kill me too? Sure enough, after hearing Shaji's words, Dumbledore's expression changed. Kill you? No, of course I didn't come to kill you. Why do you think so? In fact, I came to Albania this time to give you this letter. Dumbledore produced a letter from inside his robes. This is your admission letter. We wanted to send it to you the day before yesterday, but the owl couldn't find you, so I used some tricks. I found out about your whereabouts. Before Dumbledore finished speaking, Shaji interrupted him excitedly. So, are you here to save me? This is Shaji's second strategy. That's selling badly. Then continue to draw Dumbledore's attention in the direction of Shaji's misery. Shaji knew very well that Dumbledore was not a god, and he didn't know that it was normal for him to be caught by a werewolf. This time Dumbledore came to deliver the letter to him in person. It must have been a coincidence. He must have come out to do something, and then he was looking for himself by the way. You must know that Hogwarts will send a professor to guide the Muggle-born students after sending out the admission letter. And this job, Dumbledore hadn't done it for many years. But Dumbledore appeared here, although I don't know why, but this does not hinder Shaji's performance. Rescue you. Dumbledore really began to wonder. Son, can you tell me what happened? Didn't you come to save me? Well, but since you sent me the letter, you must know my real name. Shaji asked excitedly. Sir, do you know what my previous name was? Is it? For some reason, I don't remember much about the past. Shaji's eyes looked into Dumbledore's eyes sincerely, occlumency activated, and when he said, some reason, the image of himself being tortured by the werewolf wizard Rex with the Cruciatus curse flashed through his mind at the right moment. These are real memories. It is Shaji who knows the dust-laden memories of the original owner of this body, and these memories are slowly recovering. These are just a few pictures of the original owner who are most impressed. Shaji only knew that Dumbledore would secretly perform legilimency on him. Sure enough, Dumbledore's expression changed. He saw those pictures. Dumbledore knew very well that suffering from the Cruciatus curse for a long time would cause indelible and terrifying damage to a person's memory and even the soul. Hadn't Neville's parents been driven insane by the Cruciatus curse? Thinking of this, Dumbledore believed Shaji's words again. Dumbledore came over and handed the letter to Shaji. Your name is Shaji. This time, Shaji almost froze. The original owner was also called Shaji. Is this just a coincidence? Shaji's heart was overwhelmed, but there was no wave on the surface. It seems that I must be very satisfied with my name, because on the premise that I can't remember the original name, I gave myself a new name, which is also called Shaji. People will always remember the most cherished things in their life deeply and engrave them into their instincts. Your name may be your most cherished thing. Could you invite me to sit in that beautiful tent? I'm very old and I've traveled a long way. If possible, it would be nice to have a place to rest. Dumbledore smiled. We can sit down and have a good chat. I'd love to hear your story, Shaji. Of course, sir. Shaji secretly breathed a sigh of relief. As long as Dumbledore was willing to calm down and listen, at least without preconceptions, half the battle would be done. Anyway, the mission calls for Dumbledore's understanding, not trust. This time the system actually took out the Sorcerer's Stone as a reward. Shaji still really wants the Sorcerer's Stone that turns stones into gold. Dumbledore didn't look at the corpse of the werewolf wizard lying on the ground. He could actually guess what happened. What he cared about was why Shaji could use the unforgivable curse so proficiently. On this point, Shaji was not wrong. When passing by Nagini, he glanced at the big snake with complicated eyes. Nagini looked at Dumbledore vigilantly. He didn't remember Dumbledore for a long time, but simply thought that the old man was dangerous. Dumbledore just glanced at Nagini and walked into the tent without saying anything. The inside of this tent looks far less glamorous than the outside. Indeed, Shaji just repaired the tent, the inside was empty, and before he had time to set it up, many things happened. With a flick of Dumbledore's wand, a few pieces of wood on the ground turned into 3 beautiful chairs and a coffee table. In such a hot weather, I suggest you drink 2 glasses of iced pumpkin juice. Then, 3 glasses of iced pumpkin juice appeared on the table. Shaji stared dumbfounded as Dumbledore conjured 3 drinks. It's just a little trick. Well, I think we can have a good talk now. And Miss Wally, why did you appear here? You know your father, because of your disappearance, has been anxious terrible. Dumbledore stretched his legs, seemingly exhausted. Dumbledore knew Mr. Whirly, so he had also met Cassandela. Professor, Shaji had to use the killing curse only because she wanted to protect me. Cassandela was a little anxious. Those werewolves are going to catch me and eat me. Instead of answering Dumbledore's question, she rushed to explain to Shaji. This made Shaji very grateful. Okay, Miss Whirly, don't get excited. I have no intention of arresting Shaji in Azkaban. After all, I am not an Auror, and here is not England. This is not under the jurisdiction of the British Ministry of Magic. Dumbledore reassured Cassandela. Then his eyes fell on Shaji. Actually, I don't remember much of the memory from half a month ago. Shaji said hesitantly. He suffered the Cruciatus curse, which started half a month ago. This is absolutely true. He didn't dare to exaggerate. He knew that Dumbledore would be able to deduce from the scars on his body when and what kind of curse he had received. Can I see your scars, kid? Sure enough, Dumbledore asked to see the scar. Shaji nodded, then took off her shirt. I saw dense scars all over Shaji's pale skin. Dumbledore only took one look before gasping. The original owner suffered half a year of torture, of course not only the Cruciatus curse, but also many other messy black magic curses. This caused Shaji to have all kinds of scars all over her body. There are even some curses that haven't fully dissipated until now. Under such inhuman torture, the original owner could survive for half a year. Shaji once found it unbelievable, especially when those infiltrating memories gradually recovered, making Shaji silent for a while. The original owner was really too difficult. Oh, my God. Kushandela looked at the scar on Shaji's body, and felt an uncontrollable heartache in her heart. Are they doing this? Kushandela's voice was trembling, and her eyes were filled with tears. You fought them with such injuries. I didn't even know you had so many injuries. Even so, are you still going to find them? Shaji nodded. There are many children locked up like me, and I have to rescue them. Rescuing those children is not your responsibility alone, Shaji. Dumbledore looked at Shaji, his eyes softened a lot. But, I don't know who to ask for help. I don't even remember who I am. Shaji lowered her head. With a flick of his wand, Dumbledore was removing the lingering curse from Shaji's scar. Take a sip of pumpkin juice. It tastes good when it's chilled. Don't worry about those children, I'll get them out. You can trust me on that. Dumbledore blinked and said, You tell me how you escaped? Dumbledore's magic attainments were very high, and he removed the curse from Shaji in a short while. His blue eyes looked at Shaji again. Because of removing those curses, Shaji felt an unprecedented ease in her body. He caught Dumbledore's gaze and knew Dumbledore's legilimency was on again. I don't know what happened. At that time, that person was still tormenting me. For some reason, a lot of black gas came out of my body, and then I became a black mist. I was very relaxed out of the cage. After I knocked the man down, I took his wand. As Shaji said, he used occlumency to imagine the scene at that time in his mind. This is of course a fake picture. After all, Shaji directly knocked Rex down with an imperious curse. Of course this cannot be said. Black mist. After you turned into black mist, are you awake? Dumbledore was surprised. He saw Moran in the picture that emerged in Shaji's mind. Shaji turned out to be a silent person. Still a silent person who can control his own power. He had only seen one such person many years ago. Dumbledore guessed that Shaji's silence came on the eve of his amnesia. Shaji nodded, indicating that he was awake at the time, and at the same time his figure turned into a black mist, flew around the tent, then changed back into a human form, and sat down again. Dumbledore watched Shaji show his silence with admiration. He has indeed mastered the power of silence. Kushandela asked curiously, Professor, do you know what Shaji's power of incarnation of black mist is? It's the power of silence, Miss Wally. I think you've heard of it. What? Shaji is silent. I heard that silent people don't live past the age of 11. Does that mean? Kushandela looked at Shaji anxiously. He has endured so many hardships, but is he destined to not live to be 11 years old? Kushandela felt very sad in her heart. Don't worry, Miss Wally, Shaji is very special. He has completely mastered the power of silence, so I am sure that he can spend his 11th birthday safely. Dumbledore patiently explained to Cassandela with, Can you tell me how you learned the killing curse? Dumbledore finally asked the most crucial question. That day, when I woke up, that person was torturing me with the Cruciatus curse. At that time, I didn't know what kind of power it was, and I didn't understand why I was there, let alone who I was. Shaji said faintly talking. Cassandela pressed her lips together tightly. Dumbledore nodded, tapped his wand, and refilled Shaji's cup with pumpkin juice. Later, I got out of trouble by relying on silence, and knocked down that person very easily. Shaji seemed to be caught in a deep memory. I took his wand because I knew that was what he was using to torture me. As Shaji narrated, occlumency operated, and vivid pictures flashed in his mind. From that person, I learned everything about the wizarding world, and then I took his wand and tried it on him, and I found that I can use that spell too. You cast the Cruciatus curse on him? Yes. Then suddenly he drew a second wand from his sleeve. Another completely unfamiliar spell was cast at me. I saw that green light shoot out of his wand. I became unconsciously black mist, dodged his spell. He hit you with the killing curse. Shaji nodded. At that time, I didn't know that it was a killing curse, so I hid behind the cage, waved the wand I snatched, and said the spell he just said, and then the green light shot out from my wand hit him. After that, I didn't know, this spell can kill people. Son, it's not your fault. If he had cast the stunning curse on you, he wouldn't have died. Dumbledore comforted Shaji instead. He now understands that because Shaji has mastered the power of silence, she is very talented in magic. So he just watched the opponent's spellcasting once, and he could subconsciously imitate the opponent's spell to counterattack. From this point of view, Shaji didn't intend to use the unforgivable curse, but he only learned the unforgivable curse from those werewolf wizards. As he said just now, all those werewolf wizards have a little mercy. The stun spell cast on Shaji was harmless, so they would not die, at most they would only be stunned by Shaji who had learned the stun spell. Now that they are dead, it can only be said that they deserve it. As for why Shaji has the hatred necessary to cast the death curse, this is a better explanation. The other party has tortured him for so long. Shaji is not a saint, he looks like those werewolf wizards. Isn't it a normal thing? Especially when fighting, this emotion will definitely be infinitely magnified. The unforgivable curse is called the unforgivable curse because it is irreversible, just like the cruciatus curse that permanently damages your memory. So, boy, try not to use these black magics in the future. They can not only bring the irreparable damage, will also corrode the user's mind. Okay, I try not to use it as much as possible, but I only know how to use these spells. Shaji promised on the surface that when it's time to use it in the future, I still have to use it. Otherwise, everyone else will kill me, and I will kill other people's weapons. Shaji is not so holy. Dumbledore smiled. Why don't you open your admission letter and take a look? Come to Hogwarts. I happen to be the headmaster of Hogwarts. There, you can learn a lot of interesting magic, and you can also hand in many friends. Children, you must remember that you should always believe in the power of love. Yeah, Shaji nodded happily. Dumbledore looked away. Shaji knew that Dumbledore's legilimency had finally been removed from her body. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully obtaining Dumbledore's understanding. Reward a sorcerer's stone. Do you want to receive it? Not for now. Shaji planned to wait for Dumbledore to leave before receiving it. At the same time, he breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. It was really not easy to get this sorcerer's stone. Sir, can I go with you to save those children? I'm very strong, and I can definitely help you. How could Shaji be reconciled if he didn't see those guys die with his own eyes? He planned to follow Dumbledore's tailwind. Besides, who wouldn't want to see for themselves the methods of the greatest white wizard of the century? Before Dumbledore could answer, Cassandela stood up suddenly, tears welling in her eyes. You are so badly injured, and you still want to fight. You should find a way to heal your wounds now. Merlin, I have never seen a person with so many wounds. Why don't you understand? Take care of your body. Miss Whirly's words are very reasonable. Shaji, you should take good care of your body. I only roughly removed some of the curses for you just now. There may be some omissions. You still have to go to St. Mungo's. You can rest assured about those children's matters to me. I think you should have a little more confidence in your future principal. Shaji was a little confused for a moment. To be fair, he was very touched that Cassandela thought of him so much. But it would be impossible for him to just give up and settle accounts with Fenrir Greyback. If I just leave like this, what about my mission? Do I still need a reward? That's a treasure chest and 2 skill points. This is the task that the system issued from the very beginning. If Cassandela hadn't met halfway, he might have already used Avada to shoot at the werewolf camp. Cassandela, Professor Dumbledore, I sincerely thank you for your concern for me. Shaji's eyes became very melancholy. You know, I was imprisoned and tortured by them for a long time. Although I have lost the previous memory, but for the past half-month that I have memory, do you know how I lived? Shaji said, raising her head, her melancholy eyes slowly cruising between Cassandela and Dumbledore. Shaji's +10 charisma works all the time without him knowing it. Even Dumbledore didn't notice anything wrong, he just felt that the child exuded a very kind aura, which made people feel close to him. This was actually one of the important reasons why Dumbledore was able to let his guard down so quickly. Because it is impossible for people like Voldemort to have such an aura. Seeing the sparkle in Shaji's eyes, Kashandela felt like a heavy hammer had been struck in her heart. I understand your feelings, Shaji. But, your body. You know what, Kasandela, I hate them. So, even if I can't do it myself, I want to see them get the punishment they deserve. Otherwise, I may have to live in this haze for the rest of my life. Besides, it shouldn't be a problem for my body to recuperate a few days later. Shaji only looked at Kashandela with pleading eyes, so, please, Kashandela, just let me go. With Professor Dumbledore around, I'm in no danger, and you know I'm strong. At this time, under the influence of Shaji +10 charm, both Dumbledore and Cassandela have been unknowingly brought into the sad atmosphere created by Shaji. It seemed that if Shaji's request was not granted, he would collapse to the ground in grief and die suddenly. Kashandela looked at Shaji's sad expression, and her heart softened immediately. Oh my God, he is so pitiful. What's wrong with wanting to see your tormentors punished with your own eyes? Otherwise, just let him go. I will find the best therapist to treat him at the most later. HMPH. What does it matter to me whether you go or not? You can go if you want, and ask me what to do. Kashandela turned her head, as if she didn't want to talk to the guy in front of her anymore. Of course I want to ask you, you are my first friend. You are also my most important person, Shaji said seriously. In this regard, Shaji really did not lie. Strictly speaking, Kashandela is still his first friend of the opposite gender. Don't forget how Shaji got the Great Magician template. She was single for 30 years, and she was still too miserable. Who is your friend? I don't want to be friends with you, a silly boy. Kashandela's face turned red with a brush. She turned around and ran out of the tent, then stopped again. When the time comes, don't rush forward foolishly, and don't foolishly help others block spells anymore. I don't want to see you turned into a corpse and carried back. Cassandela rushed out, leaving the tent. It was only the roots of her red ears that betrayed her mood. God, he actually said that I was his most important person. Kashandela, you need to calm down. Dumbledore watched the scene with a smile, and he let down his guard against Shaji a little more. At the very least, Shaji won't grow into the second Voldemort, because he has emotions, and a person with emotions will know what love is. Voldemort would never understand the power of love. It's good to be young. The friendship formed at this time is the most precious. Dumbledore smiled. I can promise to take you with me, son. But you must listen to me. When you meet enemies, don't worry about it. Don't rush forward recklessly. Shaji nodded quickly, agreeing. Dumbledore hesitated for a moment. If you can. Try not to use those spells. Of course, if there is no other way, protect yourself. Shaji was slightly taken aback. What does this mean? Does this imply that I am at a critical moment and can use the unforgivable curse? After seeing Shaji nodding again, Dumbledore stood up. Okay, you should rest here first. I have to deliver a letter and find some more helpers. After all, there should be quite a few children caught. By the way, I have to send a letter to Mr. Wally. He must be very worried about Miss Wally now. You haven't had a good rest for a long time. Go to sleep now, and I will call you when the sun rises. Please wave. Dumbledore's wand, and the chair Shaji just sat on twists and turns into a velvet sheet ornate queen-size bed. This bed must be very comfortable. Shaji just took a look and immediately felt sleepy. Cool. Shaji was very envious when she saw Dumbledore's transfiguration. What kind of magic is this? Can you teach me? Of course, it's transfiguration. It doesn't have a specific spell, it just requires you to concentrate and conceive the object you want to transform. Dumbledore put the matter of delivering the letter aside, and followed Shaw with great interest. G only briefly talked about the essence of transfiguration, as if he had regained the feeling he had when he was a professor of transfiguration. There is no way. Shaji's request is always difficult to refuse. The influence brought by the +10 charm, even the greatest wizard, Dumbledore cannot avoid it. After all, it is produced by the system, and it has long been out of the scope of magic. At Hogwarts, Transfiguration Professor McGonagall is a master transfiguration master. You can learn more about this knowledge from her after you enroll. Dumbledore is indeed a master of transfiguration, and the explanations are profound and simple. Shaji just listened to his explanation, and there was a change on the panel. Talent. Obscure, Parseltongue the highest level. Black Magic Mastery, 9. Transfiguration Mastery, 1. Prophecy Mastery, 0. Under Shaji's 10-point intelligence bonus, and Dumbledore's explanation. Transfiguration Mastery on the panel changed from 0 to 1. Don't underestimate this mastery. You know, this is proficient in transfiguration. Instead of transfiguration talent. With just 1 point of transfiguration proficiency, Shaji's transfiguration has become about the same as that of a 5th-year Hogwarts student. With the blessing of 10 points of intelligence, Shaji, possessed by the spirit of learning, has an amazing learning speed. In many cases, as long as he understands, he will learn. With a wave of Shaji's magic wand, a broken piece of wood twisted up, gradually turning into a bed. It's just that the bed looks a little rough. Not as fine and ornate as the bed Dumbledore had conjured up. But it has fully possessed the practicality needed for a bed. Oh, if this was a Hogwarts class, I'd give you 20 points. I think Professor McGonagall will be very happy to see you. Dumbledore was genuinely shocked. When others first learn the art of transfiguration, they all start by turning a match into a needle. But Shaji has only just learned transfiguration, and he can already turn a piece of broken wood into a big bed. What an incredible talent for magic. Even the legendary Merlin is nothing more than that. Professor Dumbledore, you teach well. I bet you must have been one of the best transfiguration professors before. I haven't blushed so much since Madame Pomfrey praised my pink earmuffs. Dumbledore said happily, I've never met a young wizard as talented as you, Shaji. You don't need to be so humble at all. Well, it's been a long time, maybe you and Cassandela both need to rest. It just so happens that there are 2 beds here now. Dumbledore moved Shaji's conjured bed to the other side of the tent, and conjured a curtain to separate the 2 beds. After Shaji finally said goodnight to Dumbledore, she lay down on the bed she had conjured up. Although the bed doesn't look that fancy on the outside, it's still very comfortable. Since time traveling, he hasn't laid down on the bed yet. At this time, he heard a rush of footsteps. It should be that Cassandela was also persuaded by Dumbledore to come in to rest. But through the curtain, Shaji didn't see her figure. Shushisha. Nagini crawled in and got into Shaji's pocket. Shaji was a little strange. For some reason, Dumbledore didn't ask him about Nagini at all, didn't even mention it, just turned a blind eye to Nagini. It's fine if you don't ask, and you won't have to work hard to find excuses. It's still very tiring to use occlumency to fake memories. It was hard for Snape to be able to lurk beside a legilimency master of Voldemort's level, and still be able to pretend for so long. Voldemort wasn't as reasonable as Dumbledore. He has always been unscrupulous with legilimency. Shaji lay comfortably on the bed, opened her own panel, and checked the latest gains. He quickly noticed that his remaining skill points were still useless. Let's use it now, but which one should we use? Black Magic Mastery, 9. Transfiguration Mastery, 1. Prophecy Mastery, 0. Shaji's eyes suddenly stopped on the proficiency of divination. If I add points to divination mastery, will I just learn divination directly? Ding. Just add points to the mastery of prophecy, and the host can directly learn prophecy. The system's prompt tone came at the right time. Sure enough, Shaji now intends to add this 1 skill point to the mastery of divination. Prophecy is the most important talent. If there is no talent, no matter how hard you try, you will not be able to make progress in prophecy. However, with the help of the system, all of this has become extremely simple. Shaji opened the panel. System, help me add a little skill point to the mastery of divination. Ding. The skill point has been successfully added. Prophecy Mastery +1. Boom. At the moment when the addition was successful, Shaji only felt that the center of his brow was stabbed by something, and then, a mysterious force came from outside the sky and connected to Shaji's brow. Ding. The host's celestial eye is opened. Due to the proficiency of +1 prophecy, the host gains the ability to predict. Specifically, it can predict anything that will happen to the target, not including the host itself, in the next 3 days. Note that because the celestial eye consumes a lot, so it can't be turned on all the time. Please turn it on when the host is in use. Doesn't include the host itself. Does that mean I can't predict my own future? Ding. The host's prophecy proficiency is only 1 point, and he doesn't have the power to predict his own destiny. Well, this is actually very good. In the original book, although Professor Trelawney has the talent of prophecy, she can't trigger the prophecy at will. Besides, although my prophecy can only predict 3 days later, but if you can't stand it, I can add more points. Shaji planned to wait until tomorrow to take over the werewolf's lair, and after getting those 2 skill points, directly add them all after the divination. Hiss. Nagini, please come out. Shaji rubbed his hands together, and he felt relieved all of a sudden. He just wanted to test his ability of prophecy. Cassian, Della and Dumbledore are not bothering themselves, and now there is no one else who can be a test subject except Nagini. Nagini crawled out of Shaji's pocket again. It looked up at Shaji, not knowing what Shaji was looking for it to do. Hiss. Is there something wrong? Shaji just touched the huge snake head in front of him. Hiss. Sorry to disturb your rest, but I want you to help me test some things and it will be finished soon. Nagini nodded, then looked at Shaji curiously, wondering what he was going to test. Shaji just looked at Nagini in front of her, and opened the celestial eye between her brows. He felt his brows heat up, and then a magic power shot out from his brows, shining on Nagini. At this time, Shaji didn't see his own appearance, so he didn't know that his pupils had turned silver at this time. Shaji felt very strange now. He felt that he suddenly floated up and floated towards Nagini in front of him. After a while, he discovered that there were countless bright or dark lights on Nagini's body. Shaji immediately understood that this was Nagini's fate line. Each fate line represents a future that Nagini may experience. The brighter the fate line, the greater the chance that Nagini will follow this fate line. Shaji understands that what she can do is to find the brightest line of fate. If you want to change this fate line, you must find the key node to change this fate line. Shaji quickly found the brightest fate line for Nagini. His consciousness sank into it. He found himself transformed into Nagini, and began to simulate what Nagini would experience on this fateful line. It stared fixedly at the handsome big boy in front of him, then the big boy shook his head dumbfounded, and then put it back into his pocket. Shaji knew that the big boy in front of her was herself, but why did she have such a dumbfounding expression? But soon, he understood why he had this expression. Nagini's simulation for the next 3 days begins. Day 1, sleep. The next day, the picture finally changed. It crawled out of the pocket. Then it got into another object. Before it got in, it noticed that the handsome big boy was in a beautiful bedroom. Soon, it will see nothing again. The object that it drilled into seemed to be something like a ring. It's worth mentioning that this thing seems to be a little more comfortable than a pocket. Then, it goes to sleep. On the 3rd day, sleep. The prophecy is over. Shaji withdrew from that state, and countless bright or dark lights appeared in his eyes again. Instead of touching another fate line, he exited the state of prophecy and closed his celestial eye. Nagini spent the next 3 days sleeping. So, I predicted loneliness. Shaji shook her head dumbfounded. Well, this expression of mine was at least predicted by me. He put Nagini back in his pocket, and then remembered the ring after that. Was this ring captured by himself later? Or a magic item rewarded by the system? In other words, after seeing the future, I was inspired to find that Nagini was hidden in the ring, which was more convenient than hiding Nagini in the pocket. Then I bought a ring and cast the traceless stretching spell on it, thus triggering the development of this fate line. The current him has only a little proficiency in prophecy, and he has no way to predict the picture of major events in the future alone, or with the help of a crystal ball, he can barely see a corner or two of the future. But now he can only target a certain person and predict the future of that person. If you want to reach the level of prophecy that you occasionally show, Trelaw, you should spend a few more skill points on prophecy proficiency. From this, it can be seen how difficult it is to predict a thing. Even if you have a rare talent, you may not be able to improve this ability. It is too difficult, and others do not have a system. Ding! Congratulations to the host's first successful prediction. Reward the host's Crisis Vigilance talent. Crisis Alert talent. What is that? Ding! This is the companion talent of the prophet, which is very rare. After having this talent, the host can sense the sudden crisis in the next 10 seconds. Shaji understood that this was a little bit like Spider-Man's spider sense, that is, in the next 10 seconds, if something happens that puts him in crisis, then the crisis alert talent will be activated. Then it will instantly send back the picture of myself experiencing this crisis and failing within 10 seconds. I have to say that this talent is really abnormal. This almost made Shaji invincible. Thinking of fighting with others in the future, dodging a few death-killing curses smartly, and then proudly said, "I predicted your prediction." My scalp was numb. Shaji lay on the bed very happy, but his body was already exhausted from the continuous fighting, and he had just made a prophecy, which consumed a lot of energy, so Shaji fell asleep before he knew it, and I slept soundly. This is the first time his body has fallen asleep so peacefully in more than half a year. Suddenly, the curtain moved slightly, and a small figure came from under the curtain. Kashandela was sitting on the floor at the head of the bed, with her elbows resting on the head of the bed, and her delicate little face was resting on her two snow-white palms. She quietly looked at Shaji, who was falling asleep in front of her, the corners of her mouth involuntarily raised slightly. "I am his most important person." Shaji was not awakened, and the crisis alert talent was not triggered. Because it's not a crisis, is it? Shaji slept very soundly this time. By the time he was woken up by Dumbledore, it was already noon the next day. Soon, he found a note on his bedside, which was left by Kashandela. "Shaji, in the morning my parents came and I had to go home with them. Since we saw that you were still sound asleep, we didn't plan to wake you up. My mom almost passed out when she heard that I nearly took a Kelvin curse. When it was time to go back, they were still nagging to repay your life-saving grace. Of course, you saved me more than once, and helped me block that death curse. You must not be so stupid in the future. How can you help others block the curse? In addition, after hearing what happened to you, my mother couldn't help crying. My dad said he would book you the best ward in St. Mungo's and book the best therapist. I think you can come to my house. My room is much better than St. Mungo's ward. Well, look forward to seeing you later. You are the most important. Strike out, your friend, Kasandela." Shaji just folded the note and put it in another intact pocket, feeling a little lost for a while. But Kasandela is gone. The place he is going to today is very dangerous. Not suitable for carrying Kasandela. Shaji came to her senses, and found Dumbledore sitting on a chair by his bed, smiling at him. "Parting is for a better reunion, son. Sometimes it's not a bad thing." It seemed that Dumbledore had been sitting there just now, quietly waiting for him to finish reading the message. Shaji's old face flushed slightly, and he said embarrassedly, "Professor Dumbledore, I seem to have wasted a lot of your time." He didn't expect that he would sleep until noon the next day. What a delay. No, it's not a delay. The helper I called has just arrived. Maybe we can have lunch before we start. Shaji followed Dumbledore out of the tent. The camp that was still a mess last night has been cleaned up now, and the corpses of those werewolf wizards have disappeared. At this time, there were several brand new big tents pitched in the camp, and many people were busy going back and forth. "Is this a little helper?" "Oh, of course, this is necessary, because we don't know the whereabouts of those children yet, so we will have to spend the next few days here, and we need to search carefully." Dumbledore looked down at Shaji. "Of course, I figured that if every child was in the same situation as you, they should get timely treatment, so I brought in some therapists from St. Mungo's. I thought, after lunch, you can go to the white tent first and find Madame Pomfrey to examine you first. Madame Pomfrey is the school doctor at Hogwarts, but please believe me, Madame Pomfrey's medical skills are very good. Back then it took me a lot of work to invite her to Hogwarts." Professor Dumbledore, I actually know their rendezvous point, so there's no need to search. If I'm lucky, I'll find them today. That's a real surprise. You know, the day we find those children, the day they'll suffer." Dumbledore was very happy. After lunch, Shaji planned to lead them the way. He didn't go to Madame Pomfrey, because based on what he knew about Madame Pomfrey, if she saw the scars on his body, then he would never go anywhere. In the books, she even dared to throw Dumbledore out of the ward. The team assembled quickly, and these people were all Aurors from the Ministry of Magic of various countries. This incident alarmed the Ministry of Magic of various countries. After all, this group of werewolves had kidnapped many children in various countries. Before, they hadn't found the whereabouts of the children, but now they got clear news, and Dumbledore took the lead. Immediately, the Ministry of Magic of various countries sent many elite Aurors, vowing to eradicate these insane werewolves. Rescue those poor children who were trapped. At this time, Minister Fudge had just taken office, and it was time to obey Dumbledore's orders, so there were a lot of elite Aurors sent by the British Ministry of Magic this time. When these people saw Shaji, they all showed friendly smiles, and they all knew about Shaji's deeds. Without Shaji, they would never have found those children. Finally, they decided to go to their destination on broomsticks. Shaji was going to fly silently to lead them, but was stopped by Dumbledore. It's best not to let more people know about your ability. It will be very bad if it is used by someone with a heart. Dumbledore said seriously, there are lessons for such things. In the end, Shaji shared the broom with Dumbledore. According to the location of Rex's confession in memory, Shaji officially set off with a large group of Aurors who had used the illusion spell. Shaji was also cast by Dumbledore's disillusionment curse. This feeling was very strange, a feeling as cold as clear water passed over his skin, and then he became invisible, even with the broom under him, disappeared traced. He felt that only his own pair of eyeballs were flying, which was really strange. In fact, this camp was not too far from any meeting point, so they flew for more than an hour before they saw the werewolf wizard camp hidden in the woods. When I got closer, I happened to see a werewolf wizard in the camp, torturing a dying child. Seeing this scene, all the Aurors were furious. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.